Welcome back to episode 11 of A Very Welsh Park and what is the final build video of the series. As I write this script, it's 5:15 in the morning as I walk to work in sub-zero temperatures listening to Celine Dion. I'm only telling you this to fill time and for the small amount of sympathy for me and my tiny hands which are about to fall off as I type. I'll be honest, this episode will be wonderful for some and incredibly boring for others because it's backstage time. Starting where we left off last week, I cracked on with the transfer tracks for Adar. See what I did there? I used one of the nicknames we coined to prevent me having to speak Welsh again. I made the transfer using metal framework, footers and locomotive rails. Because I clearly didn't get my fill of chipboard from the dark ride, I used even more here on the internal wall. It's good practice to vary the textures used on the interior as opposed to the exterior, as they very rarely match in the real world. Wouldn't it be daft if they did? If you're like me and have no clue about the particulars of a coaster maintenance shed, a nice idea is to just shutter off as much of it as you like. Absolutely hopeless? Shutter closed. Know a few bits and bobs like me? Shutter ajar. Have a pretty good knowledge? Open that baby up. Complete coaster head that likes to brag in the comment sections of Nerd Chacho's videos about how much more knowledgeable you are than him? Rip that whole bloody thing off and throw it in the sea because you're clearly better than everyone else. With my shutter now ajar, I could add a few props just to get a glimpse of something behind there. A transfer track naturally can't function without some controls, so I added a panel and an operator to the offside of the station. I even threw in a fire extinguisher because I'm so health and safety conscious. And with that, a roof can be added using plaster to match the rest. The cherry on top was a couple of AC units, a bit of dirt and a faded, deflated football. From one coaster to another, we moved to underneath Hoatson's brake run where you'll find a nice little staff path. I fenced off the area and did a spot of terrain painting. Which brings us to our second transfers, but this time we start with the maintenance shed. I used a concrete foundation with wood plank walls and metal trims. Once again, I did very minor interior work, knowing the majority will soon be hidden. Our mechanics need some way of reaching the dizzying heights of our dive coaster, so I built an external gantry and some stairs. Back round the front, time to install the aforementioned shutter using the usual equipment trolleys. How ludicrous. You're about to witness one of the hundreds of little things I normally edit out. Me flying over to reference something else in the park. So careless of me. I'm so sorry you had to see that. It's all well and good me building a raised gantry, but there's currently no door into the shed, so I rectified that. Thank heavens. I whacked out my concrete mix and made a small foundation for the bottom of the stairs. I fenced off the rest of Hoatzin's backstage, including a couple of gates of varying sizes, one for vehicles, one for peoples. Time for a few details like a door, signage, and various electrics. I suppose we should add the transfer tracks themselves if we must. Once again, adding the transfers controls, this time on the catwalk itself. And just like that, we're on to Valley Races. We're really flying through. After much of the same terrain painting and fencing, I constructed a maintenance shed out of the same materials as before. I gave this build a couple of flat-roofed extensions, perhaps additional office space or storerooms. I copied the same door and windows from our security office back in episode 1. Goodness, that was a long time ago. I was in my 20s back then. Crikey. Wow, what a delightful bin store. At the very tippity top of the park, between Valley Races and ALG, I added a staff room for the orange zone. I originally coloured the trim to match the zone it's intended for, but quickly realised I hated it and changed it to natural wood. More of the same window and door treatment before adding some ground cover either side of the staff room. Last but not least, I popped a roof on top. Terribly unexpected. Next, I connected the service road across the top and continued the fencing. Just in case anyone forgets that nature is a theme of our park, I planted a lengthy row of trees and foliage. Whilst you watch this episode, please remember absolutely nothing you see today is functioning in any way. So not only are you watching a guy build a virtual theme park, it's non-functioning things inside of a virtual theme park. Let that sink in. I stole the extension we just made and adapted it to hide the staff room for the blue zone. If you're at all confused about the layout of the park, don't fret, there will be some aerial shots at the end. In preparation for our log flumes water treatment, I tarmacked the area with a blend of terrain paint and pathing for some straight edges. Much like the transfer tracks, I have absolutely no concept of what a log flumes water treatment looks like in the real world, but I do know how to make it look plausible for this video game. I created a small tank using the same materials as before and added some vents to act as filters. Next, I added some piping and water effects. Whilst I adore the effects themselves, I hate that you can see the silly machine creating them. I made a little step out of colourable panels to hide all the gubbins. What treatment plant is complete without a water tank? I think. I added one regardless and connected it with piping. I whacked a catwalk in so our clever maintenance team can do clever things like pop chlorine in the tank or something, I don't know. Famously, electricity and water go swimmingly with each other, so I added a couple of generators into the mix. Speaking of that chlorine, I added some corrosive barrels. Well, the barrels aren't corrosive, the chlorine is. No good leaving all these dangerous chemicals out in the sun though, so best make it look like they're en route somewhere. Some safety fencing seems like a sensible idea to prevent silly staff members from mistaking our tank for a pool and attempting to go for a dip. As pretty as our backstage is, it's best to hide it from public view, so I stuck in some stake fencing. Ooh, is this a new type of Moomin trim? It is! I flipped the cast stone trim 3 for a nice edging to our backstage area. So inspirational. Our park is severely lacking in office space, so I decided to create a 2-story admin building by the entrance. I used the same materials as used for first aid and security. Notice the asymmetrical shape and varying heights for a more complex build because, altogether now, no one likes a boxy build. Windows and doors are very in this season, so I accessorized our building accordingly. Yas Queen, you work them windows. I went with a thinner trim than normal. Ooh, subtle. To placate the smokers within our team, I created a small smoking area with benches and an ashtray. To fill in the empty space, I surrounded our admin block with trees and bushes lined with a lovely pirate stockade. How would anyone know what was contained within without some bilingual signage, featuring yet another ridiculous Welsh word? Following this, I added a fob reader using a PKE meter from the Ghostbusters pack. Smart, right? I definitely didn't steal this from RC Fan for Life's last build. Thanks, pal. Now, before we watch the last 10 seconds of the time lapse, I feel we need to take a moment because, folks, our very Welsh park is about to get a name. I know, this is big. With my apparent love for giving parks hard to pronounce names and taking its name from the local town, let me introduce you to Rhondda Valley. And with that, our park is almost complete. I'll be back in 2 weeks where I'll have landscaped the border of the park and added all those final details, and you'll be able to take my tiny hand as we go on a full park tour. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these extended cinematics. If you celebrate it, have a wondrous Christmas. If you don't, have a splendid couple of weeks. And if you're watching this at any other time of year, stop being difficult. Catch you soon.